Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
I'm doing great.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Hey, everybody out there in the world. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. And Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal on... What, Mrs. Weedman?
My first home grow.
There you go.
Yay. I didn't give it a name yet. Well, we know that it has a strain name.
Ursula Berry BX.
Ursula Berry BX.
Yes. And that was bred by Big Earl. And the original breeder of it, though, was Hummingbird Hills. So, and we're going to light this up. And we're smoking out of something new that we got at the trade show that we haven't used yet. It's called Leaf Palms. And it's organic palm wraps. And this is a flavored one. I think it's passion fruit or dragon fruit or some shit like that. I don't know. But it smells good. Said slow burning. And I want to try it. So... Mrs. Weedman?
Yeah.
We smoking your strain. You excited?
Yeah. My strain is not fully cured and dried yet. I'm, a week into curing it?
Yep.
And how many weeks total will I cure it?
6.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 weeks, but you burping it?
Yeah, we're burping it, and we've been smoking a little the past couple nights.
Smokes good.
It's pretty good. It's a nice, long-lasting high.
Yeah. It
Not
comes
too
on.
heady?
No, not heady. It's a very good, relaxing strain, but it makes you think. Made me think a lot. You're not fully lit. So I like it a lot. It makes me think a lot, though. So, which not heady, but just the ideas start pouring out.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I guess it makes me smarter than the average bear. So, but good strain, good smoke. Tell them how much fun you had trimming it, though.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I had 2 of the squattiest, cutest little plants. We've talked about them on prior episodes, and they were just like 18-inch tall plants with kind of maybe 4 offshoots. They were not big plants, but they jam-packed. The buds grew,
Huge.
and they were really compact and
fat colas.
Fat. We had I germinated 3 seeds, and after getting them pretty strong, like the little seedlings were maybe 8 inches high, then I transferred them into a fabric.
Yep. Oh.
A fabric flower pot and brought them outside. And so pretty quickly, maybe a couple weeks into them growing outside, we realized that one of the plants was a male. But I was just, this is my first grow. I was using autos, so there's not a lot of brain work for me. It was really a nice way to ease into growing. And I just kind of thought, I don't want to kill a plant. I just want to see, for the sake of understanding it all. I'm a very visual learner. I wanted to see the plants grow. So we took the male plant and put it on one side of the yard, and the 2 female plants were on the other side of the yard. And we put the male plant kind of downwind. Most of our winds come from the south and the west, so we kind of thought, the male plant will go on the north side of the yard, and we should be okay. Well, we ended up getting really seedy plants. It's fine. We're going to get some seeds. We can grow some more. And
give some away.
Again, learning. Yeah, we can give seeds away. And it was part of the process. I just wanted to see how it all happened. I wanted to see the male plant. I wanted to see a female plant. I wanted to see how big it grew. I wanted to see how much, pollen made its way across the yard. And that, to me, that's all part of the process of learning. And so my next grow can be even better. I was a little disappointed then because, we controlled it in the sense of what we fed it. We let rainwater feed the plants, and then Mr. Weedman would mix. He would tell me what he was doing, but he would regulate the pH in my water, and he would add some nutrients, but not many. We later learned on autos you don't even need nutrients. So about halfway through the grow, then it was just straight water. And you didn't put anything in it at that point, just some pH?
Probably pH down, of course, because our water's so high pH, but I very little. I added some amendments a couple times too, but when you got into like the 4th, 5th week of flower, I didn't put.
Then it was just water.
And amendments.
Yeah,
that was it.
And towards the end, I was a little concerned of things getting moldy because we had some really humid weather and we had a lot of rain. And so I was pulling the plants out of the garden and putting them on the back porch it's a covered back porch for a couple of the rain showers that we had at the end because it was too close to the time that we were going to bring the plants in and trim them and let them start drying. And I just had some concerns that I'd end up with moldy plants. I did end up with a couple caterpillars. And so my top buds, very disappointed. My top buds that were so big and bushy, I had to like lop off lobes of that.
You had some
big
caterpillar
giant,
poop.
Yeah, I had some caterpillar stuff going on.
Poop.
But all in all, it was fun. But I will tell you, the long story short, you asked me about trimming, so here I finally am. I tell very detailed stories. It was very time consuming. So I did an initial trim when I cut the plants down and then we dried them and you leave them on the stem. And then I had to do a final trim before we put them in jars to cure the buds. And my goodness, 2 plants that were not big plants are a lot of work. I can't even imagine having a full size, garden of 4 or 5 plants growing 5 foot tall plants. I don't even know how you could get through all of that.
When I did the Majin Fujita and I had 3 plants in the tent.
You spent the day in the basement
I spent
trimming.
6 hours,
Yeah.
5 hours, 5 hours, literally from the time I started to the time I was done, 5 hours, because those plants were monsters.
And this was my first time ever trimming. So, I was a little hesitant on things. And then sometimes, holy hit. Ugh, I just took a monster hit.
I'm good.
Sometimes I was like, ooh, am I trimming too much? Am I, a little unsure of myself. So I think that my efficiency wasn't great because of that.
You did a great
job. But I was
job.
really enjoying it.
Yeah.
So
You get into the zone, and I like it. I don't mind trimming. I don't know if I want to trim for 12 hours a day
No.
like some people do, but 5 hours to do it. When I did, and I mean, I've trimmed a lot now, so I just throw some music on, I get baked, smoke a joint.
it's relaxing.
Yeah, and just go for it,
It's like
and
being
just
in
do
your
it.
garden.
Yeah.
I really came to this conclusion a handful of years ago. We did a bucket garden. So it was an environmentally friendly, they're called global buckets. The concept is so that people living in an environment, maybe you only have a balcony, you don't have a yard, or you live in maybe a third world country and you don't have proper soil for growing things. So it was a way of developing kind of not a hydroponic, but a kind of a self-contained,
I want you to do that
really
with cannabis
easy.
next
Yeah,
summer.
I want to do that with cannabis. So it's like you double bucket, you have a little
Solo cup in the middle.
solo cup in the middle so the roots can get down to the bottom bucket, and then you have an irrigation system, and it's super easy. And during that process of doing that little global bucket farming, to me it was just really cool. I mean, just the way that things grow.
Man,
Like,
we were
all
eating
of a
fresh
sudden,
lettuce every day.
the right the bugs come around, the rainwater helps, this help, like the natural sunlight, and you just watch like.
And you did everything organic too.
It was- yeah,
And you were
everything was
spraying. You were
organic.
spraying for bugs with garlic and water, like essence of
I
garlic
turned
and
all
stuff.
of I made this like homemade witch's brew of soil,
Yep.
all this organic and bat guano and all this crazy stuff.
Some of the best
mushroom,
lettuce I ever ate.
Yeah, we had some good produce.
Yeah.
But to me, I think that maybe for women, the concept of gardening, to me, tending a garden is that these things rely on you to some degree. Nature will take its course, right? But to some degree, we have to intervene and either plant whatever it is we're trying to grow or give nutrients that don't come from nature. There's things we have to do. We have to take care of it.
Yeah.
And women have a caretaking nature. Like I raised kids and now the kids are out of the house, and I find gardening to kind of replace that needing to take care of something.
And Yuki.
I like it. Well,
And
I got
Yuki.
Yuki to take care of. I got you to take care of. Come on. The plants are my solitude. I like my
It's your zen.
gardening. It's my zen.
Yeah,
I
it's your
love it.
zen. You love it. I love when you go out there and do the garden work. You're just out there just
I
trimming.
could be out
and
there, like,
all
I just
day.
get lost in it. I could be there all
you
day.
do. You smoke a little J.
Yeah.
You go out there and you go. You were out there earlier.
Yeah.
Trimming everything up.
go
Look,
out-
you were supposed to go out there to do one thing.
I went out to wind down the patio umbrella because it
You
was supposed to
didn't
rain
even
tonight.
fucking do
I
it.
never did it. Next thing you know, I had my gardening gloves on. I had my bucket, and I was out around trimming all the plants and knocking off all the dead foliage.
So I come
Oh
outside.
my
I was
God.
outside with Yuki.
And then the wind blows over the umbrella, and Mr. Weedman's like, "Did you hear that?" I was like, "Yeah, I did actually." That's why I came out here. I wasn't even high. I was like, "Oh, I came out here to do that.
Oh,
I
my
came out
gosh.
to prevent that from happening."
Oh my
my
gosh,
God.
it's so good.
Yeah. I'm not flaky, I promise.
No, you just get
But I was
sidetracked. You just
I
get
get
sidetracked really
sidetracked
easy.
really easy.
When you see something, I've seen you do it. You're in the middle of ready to go do something, and something catches your eye, and next thing you're on to the next thing.
I'm typically never doing just one thing. I'm
I've seen you do
multitasking all the time.
like 5 different things.
But
6
in
different
my
things.
brain, I'm making notes to go back.
I know.
I get my shit done.
I know you do. I'm not
Maybe
saying
not
that at all. I was saying I watch you
your
go out to
way.
do one thing, and next thing you know, you're doing 3 other different things before the one
Yeah.
thing was supposed to get done.
Yeah. I am a good time manager, though.
You are. You have everything
get
written
it. I
down
get
on a
that shit
calendar.
done.
You do. You work your ass off. Very
A
proud
little
of you.
ADHD, but I manage it.
You do. You kick ass and take names.
That's right.
Good weed, Mrs. Weedman. Though
I'm in my head a little right now.
I told you it's
That is
very
good
thinky.
weed.
Yeah, we've been smoking this every day since you trimmed it. Just because we took a big nug out, and we grinded it and we rolled some joints with it, and we've been smoking it and
I
rolled
think
another
I need
joint.
an extra pair of glasses to read tonight.
It's a good body high, but yet very, 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 very up in the hills
Oh, yeah.
here. So good stuff. Outdoor
Okay.
girl. So we're watching Suits.
We are.
We just finished season 1.
Is that as far as we got?
Yeah, only because for the last 6 days, Mr. Weedman was lying flat in bed looking at the ceiling.
Yeah. Mr. Weedman had a bad week.
Yes, he did. And Mr. Weedman had a bad back so bad that he couldn't move.
He did too much fishing and
Too
boat
much
driving
and playing with
and
Yuki.
lifting a dog in and out of a boat.
And lifting an anchor in and out of a boat and moving the boat by himself and nobody helping with 12
Hey,
people on a boat.
12 people. Okay, fish tails.
8.
Yes, that's a difference.
was 8.
That's 4 extra
There was 8.
bodies you added.
There was 8.
How big was the fish you caught?
As big as the boat. So yes, I hurt my back, so I was laying in bed for 6 days looking at the ceiling. And I want to tell you something though. No painkillers, no muscle relaxers, weed. We have this thing called the TENS unit. I highly recommend you getting one out there in the world if you have any kind of aches and pains, like joints, bone, muscle. The TENS unit is
It's amazing.
It's electro.
It's like acupuncture on steroids.
Yeah,
You go to like your
100%.
acupressure points and you put these little, like, when you're getting your heart rate, the little pads.
Yeah, the little pads.
And
Yeah,
they're hooked
and
to
they
a
send
wire.
electromagnetic
Yeah.
right to
These
where
little
you set it,
pulses.
and it's
Yeah.
just there's different settings, and I do it for 2 hours, and I did it for 2 hours, and then another time I did it 4 hours a day, and put it on the spots where my back because my sciatic was jacked. Right through the pemphiferous muscle, right down. So cannabis relaxed me because every time I moved, my body would freeze because of the pain of the sciatic, and then every muscle from my lat to my ass, the bottom of my buttocks,
Buttocks.
froze.
Do you have a buttocks?
Buttocks.
You got a buttocks? Buttocks? Do you
Froze.
like a butt steak?
Froze so bad to where I couldn't move until I took a breath. So the only thing that relaxed my muscles
It was bad.
was cannabis, and then putting that on for 4 hours a day. I couldn't get up to go to the restroom at all. I couldn't put my socks on. I couldn't put on my underwear. I couldn't move. Literally stayed at the ceiling for 6 days, from Monday till Sunday, basically. Right. I finally was walking around a little bit on Sunday, but I say to anybody out there that has back problems or back issues, the TENS unit helps along with cannabis.
I think doctors can prescribe them. They're like part of physical therapy.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
I
but
owe that thing.
They're inexpensive. You could buy like the one
They
we
ran-
have.
It's the one was bought.
$100 or something.
No, that one was bought.
Yeah,
from
it
us.
was bought
was
at like a convention.
Yeah, but
So it was like a professional grade
right,
for an inexpensive price. But you can get them
Yeah.
under $100.
unbelievable though.
Lots of options.
I mean, between the cannabis, relaxing my muscles, I was smoking a lot of hash, and thank Straight A Genetics for that.
Yeah.
I smoked a lot of hash because that was the one that really the 3 different strains of hash I had really relaxed my body. I'd smoke flower too. I'd also take an edible that had THC and CBG in it too to help the inflammation. So I was on heavy cannabis mode from the time I woke up. From when the cannabis wore off, I was by 10 o'clock in the morning. I was eating an edible. and then weed, and then hash in the evening, and the TENS unit. And that's what I did. I'm still in pain, but I can move finally. I'm moving around nicely. I still haven't driven the car yet, but I was
You
able.
haven't been in the car for
I've
a
been in the
week.
car since last Monday because I couldn't sit in the car. Remember,
Well, you didn't even. You were passenger. You couldn't drive.
I couldn't even move in the car.
Right.
If I moved, every
go,
time you,
You'd hold your breath.
yep,
There were a
couldn't
lot of those.
sneeze, sneezing,
Holding your
jacked me
sneezes.
up. Yeah. So if all you're wondering, know how we recorded last week, I
Yeah, he
laid
was
in
clenching
bed.
his teeth in
Yeah,
between.
I laid in bed and recorded all these episodes. So yeah, and put episodes together in bed. So I want to thank Mrs. Weedman and Yuki for being great help. And Mrs. Weedman had to put socks on for me when my feet got cold. So I thank you for putting my socks on
You're welcome.
and getting me weed.
I mean, what am I here for? Right?
So going back to Suits.
Oh, yeah, Suits.
We watched the last episode of season 1 yesterday, and boy, oh boy, oh boy. What I mean,
Wow.
Just the last 2 episodes, I would say, were just like, holy shit.
It's like the old, like what is that saying? You can't trick the tricker, or you can't joke the joker, or you can't outsmart the smart. What, there's a saying.
I don't know
What
it.
is it? I don't know.
These
guys, they're all so intelligent.
Yeah.
But they're always like, it's like a playbook. You know,
Yes.
they're all making these very calculated moves, strategic moves for their careers and for their clients, and they think they're outsmarting one, but the other one's already onto the game. Like they're just like
It's pretty good.
frickin', yeah,
Pretty good.
players.
And Mike might get fucked. So
Yeah.
we start season 2 tonight. So episode 1, I gotta see what
pretty
happens.
good.
I can't wait. So after this recording, you ready to get the show started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do this. Obscure cannabis components hold therapeutic promise for treating skin problems like acne and psoriasis, study finds. A new study suggests that some lesser-known cannabinoids produced by hemp and marijuana with names like THCV, CBDV, CBC, CBM, and CBN, which we've talked about on the shows, these minor cannabinoids, may help treat dermatological disease such as psoriasis, eczema, and acne. The findings of the review suggest the minor cannabinoids hold therapeutic promise in the management of dermatological diseases, says the study published this week in peer-reviewed journal Moleculars. Incorporating minor cannabinoids to dermatological therapies could potentially offer novel treatment options for patients and improve their overall well-being. To reach those conclusions, Polish researcher Emily Kishwin and Dora Kalachitik reviewed existing literature published in scientific journals and found that minor cannabinoids exhibit diverse pharmacological activity, including anti-inflammatory, analgesic, antimicrobial, and anti-itch properties, which Mrs. Weedman can use right now. She's allergy crazy today. Some studies reported that efficiency in mitigating symptoms associated with dermatological disease, such as psoriasis, eczema, and acne, and pruritus, authors noted. Certain minor cannabinoids seem to be especially suited for treating specific diseases. CBDV, with its anti-inflammatory properties, can be used to alleviate skin symptoms such as itching and swelling in the treatment of atopic dermatitis, AD, the authors wrote for the example. The cannabinoid also, due to its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, can have a healing effect on acne lesions. Other recently discovered cannabinoids such as CBM and CBE have also demonstrated anti-inflammatory potential. The studies continues. They represent a novel alternative for conducting scientific research regarding specific diseases conditions. Similarly, CBC, which is anti-inflammatory antioxidant effects, may also have a beneficial impact on the treatment of acne, psoriasis, and AD. THCV, meanwhile, shows many promising properties in combating acne, as it may help regulate sebum, S-E-B-U-M, sebum production. It also exhibits anti-inflammatory and antibacterial properties, can help alleviate inflammation and combat the bacterial responsible for acne development. All told, researchers identified possible therapeutic applications of minor cannabinoids: CBDV, CBDP, CBC, THCV, CBGA, CBG, CBN, as well as more recently discovered cannabinoids CBM, cannabimovine, and CBE, cannabinoid, which I have not talked about those two yet. So those are even new to me. So we'll have to look those up. The effects are believed to be the result of cannabinoids interacting with the body's endocannabinoid system, a central regulatory system responsible for maintaining the health and proper function of almost every organism. The study authors find increasing evidence suggests that the endocannabinoid signal plays a crucial role in regulating biological process in the skin. Many skin functions, such as immune response, cell proliferation, differentiation, and survival, are the least partial regulated by the endocannabinoid system, and suppressing skin inflammation is one of the strongest functions. Topical applications of minor cannabinoids may help even help mitigate the effects of aging, the study said. Ooh, live forever. Authors emphasize that much research is needed on minor cannabinoids to confirm their effectiveness and safety, but acknowledge there are still barriers to progress. There's a lot of minor cannabinoids right now that you can get, especially in edibles, and most of those I just mentioned. The impact of the nervous system issues pertaining to product quality and regulations, as well as ethical and legal aspects, including those concerning legality, require comprehensive consideration, they wrote. Therefore, despite the promising therapeutic prospects, the utilization of cannabinoids, especially the minor cannabinoids, necessitates further research, regulation, and balanced approach to ensure benefits with minimizing potential health and societal risk. Great article. You consider your food quality you eat most of the time, Mrs. Weedman.
Except for all the candy. Yeah. For the most part, I try to eat good stuff.
Yeah, we try to eat pretty. So what is quality cannabis then? And as we consider it towards food now.
Yeah. This is a good article. This is written by a doctor, Amanda Ryman. During Prohibition, quality cannabis was usually defined as large, well-trimmed buds with a strong odor and potent high. This definition has largely remained in the world of cannabis regulation. When consumers are asked what they consider when deciding to purchase a cannabis product, potency and price top the list. And while other factors like terpene profile and minor cannabinoids are gaining ground, the question of what defines quality still remains. For the past 2 years, the California State Fair has hosted a cannabis competition. The awards are based on cannabinoid and terpene content, and while the winners absolutely deserved their medals, they were also small farmers who took a lot of care in crafting their flower. The fair also doles out awards for other food and agriculture products, again, mostly produced by small local artisans. So maybe we already know what quality cannabis is because we know what quality food is. When we know what we know that industrialized agriculture is tied to environmental, animal, and human welfare harm. We know that highly processed foods are linked to heart disease and other chronic conditions. We know that we would rather support the small, locally owned coffee shop down the street than Starbucks. We know that nothing tastes quite as good as a tomato you grow yourself. We know that we want to avoid artificial colors and flavors, and that organically grown food has health and environmental benefits. It's time we start applying this knowledge to cannabis, and here's how. The next time you walk into a dispensary, act like you're walking into a grocery store. Read the labels and ask yourself, who made this and who will benefit from me buying it? If you would rather buy your fruit from the farmer's market because the money goes directly back to a local farmer, why buy cannabis from some large corporation?
That's right.
I get it, though. Some people don't have access to small farm cannabis, but that doesn't mean you can't take notice and make the best choice possible. These days, many manufactured cannabis products contain artificial flavors and colors, designed to beef up the terpene profiles or provide a kitschy consumption experience. If you avoid certain foods because of what is in them, take a closer look at the cannabis products in your basket. What impact does the product have on the environment? From energy-intensive indoor grows to excessive plastic packaging, cannabis, although a bioremediator, can have a negative impact on the environment depending on how it's grown and packaged. And while testing supposedly weeds out cannabis with high levels of pesticides or mold, it doesn't mean that all flower is grown with compost tea and integrated pest management. Although child-proof packaging is required in all legal states, some companies have excess packaging and often plastic components that are more about marketing and branding than child safety. So look for biodegradable and recycled packaging and minimal plastic. If we want to see a future of cannabis, an industry made up of small businesses who care about the quality of their product and they work to ensure that what they create is healthy and environmentally conscious, we have to make the decision now to support those businesses. So the next time you walk into a dispensary, ask yourself, if it was food you were buying, would you feel good about your purchase? And in this way, we can truly be the change we wish to see in the world. I think that is phenomenal advice.
I'd tell you what, the Green State, their articles lately have been
really good.
on fire.
Yeah.
On fucking fire. I mean, well done.
Yeah.
I think we've been researching a lot of their stuff lately, and I have to say, well done on all your reads. But I'm going to go back real quick and throw myself a shameless plug real quick. Myself and Big Earl. The episode should be out probably tomorrow, the new Grow Hour. If you want to learn about pest management, IPM, check out our episode with Eric Vandersloot from, hopefully I don't forget, but I can't remember the name of the company. But anyway, check it out. He shows his name of his company. But if you want to learn about pest management, phenomenal hour and like 10-minute talk. And this guy, Eric, knew his shit to the fucking, he's a nerdy, bug nerdy. Like, it's all about bugs.
Right.
So for gardening.
And
so,
he's a consultant to large grows.
Yes.
For pest management.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for pest management. Unbelievable.
Super educated.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So even if you don't grow cannabis, but if you use it for growing
hydroponic, indoor grow,
whatever.
Greenhouse.
I'm sorry about even just for food.
Right.
For anything. Unbelievable. He knew his shit to the fucking T, and he said you can call him and ask him any questions and ask for him too.
Wow. That's cool.
So it was cool. It was a great fucking show. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun, but he knew his shit. So just going back on the IPM management, pesticides and stuff like that, it was really, really good. So debunking the top 5 myths about cannabis. Let's talk about myth. Cannabis has no medical benefits. It's a myth. As the topic, and I just told you what happened.
That is a myth.
Yes, and I just told you what happened to me.
Who created that myth?
As
dumb.
The topic of cannabis gains increasing attention worldwide, a common don't be sorry because it's true.
I'm not.
Sorry, not sorry.
Not sorry.
A common myth that often surfaces is the claim that cannabis bears no medical benefits. This belief stands in stark contrast to history and substantial research, which presents cannabis as a plant with many potential medical qualities. In fact, has been utilized for centuries for its myriad benefits. Patients have reported a wide range of positive effects from its uses. These include chronic pain. One suffers from it. Anxiety disorders. It also widely used for pain management, notably persistent pain and muscle relaxant. I just told you my story a minute ago. There are also several accounts of effectiveness in aiding with different medical conditions. These include post-traumatic stress disorder, HIV-related pain and wasting syndrome, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, epilepsy, seizures, and multiple sclerosis. This is a myth. Cannabis can cure everything. We're all enthusiastic about potential of medical cannabis. However, cannabis is not the universal cure-all. While cannabis holds significant potential as a medicinal tool, it's no magic bullet that cures all ailments. Okay? As explained above, cannabis has potential benefits for certain chronic conditions, from managing anxiety to controlling nausea related to chemotherapy. It may even contribute to cancer cell. Growth, inhibition, and muscle relaxation and multiple sclerosis. These benefits are strongly linked to its chemical structure, in particular, presence of cannabinoids such as THC and CBD amongst its over 100 chemical components. We just read in the first article I read, which was a lot of cannabinoids. But it's important to keep in mind that recognizing cannabis medicinal benefits should not blur the critical necessity for scientific caution. Research into a full range of potential applications continues with careful investigation required to ensure safe and effective use. A balanced understanding of cannabis, its essentials, while offering significant medicinal promise, claiming cannabis as a cure for all misleading. Therefore, it's crucial to continue the informed dialogue and focus on evidence-based understanding of its multifaceted plant's true medicinal potential. Myth: cannabis leads to potential crime, violent crime. The myth linking cannabis usage to violent crime often rears its head in discussion around the plant's legality and effectiveness, implying a sense of imminent danger and social disruption. However, though examination of the available evidence upends this notion. I'm going to say something real quick because there's never been one time in my whole entire weed smoking life that I ever thought about beating somebody up while I'm on weed.
No.
Or doing some harm to somebody, let's just say.
Yeah.
You know?
Doesn't happen.
No. A 2014 meta-analysis of the U.S. state panel data found no direct link between the level of cannabis use and increased number of violent crimes or property crimes. These claims become more problematic when they are exaggerated or misrepresented. Efforts to associate cannabis use with mass shootings or serious crimes, as seen in the contentious publication Tell Your Children the Truth About Marijuana, Mental Illness, and Violence, neglect to consider crucial nuances. It's true that studies have reported a connection between heavy cannabis use and psychosis, particularly among young users. However, the direction of casualty remains unclear. Moreover, suggestions that cannabis-induced violent crimes have been largely dismissed, with comprehensive review conducted by the Rand Corp for the White House and concluding that marijuana does not induce violent crime. Interestingly, rather than increasing crime rates, the presence of medicinal cannabis dispensaries may actually decrease them. Research from the University of California, Irvine found that medical marijuana dispensaries reduce crimes in their immediate areas, with crime rates increasing. These dispensaries shut down. Myth: cannabis makes you lazy. Well, I don't even need to read anymore because that is the biggest fucking myth, because I only know lazy people. I don't know lazy stoners.
Yeah.
So I don't need to read anymore.
I'm with you on that.
So, myth: cannabis overdose can kill you. One of the most prevalent myths surrounding cannabis is the risk of fatal overdose, but let it be known, while it's indeed possible to overindulge in cannabis, ringing the death knell because of its stretch too far. Firstly, let's dissect the meaning of an overdose. It indicates the consumption of a substance beyond the normal recommended amount, leading to adverse impacts. So, can you overdose on cannabis? Absolutely. Symptoms may include anxiety, paranoia, dizziness, hallucinations, or even physical discomfort, such as chest pains. These symptoms, though disturbing, are typically short-lived and non-lethal. While rare, consuming a large amount of cannabis in conjunction with another substance can lead to more acute reactions. However, to reach a fatal level of cannabis consumption, an individual will need to ingest an astronomical amount, around 1,500 pounds, within a quarter of an hour. There's nobody that can ever do that. So, given the limitations of human consumption capacity and time, accomplishing such a feat is next to impossible. So, can you enjoy your cannabis without fearing the Grim Reaper's call? Yes, as long as moderation is your guiding principle. And remember, while the myth of fatal cannabis overdose can be debunked, the importance of sensible consumption and respect for the substance should not be discounted. That was a good article.
Yeah.
Carts, vapes, dabs. We've talked about a lot of these, but it's always good to talk about new information. And even if it's old information going into new information, it's just good because somebody might be listening for the first time and this is the show they listen to.
Right.
So the more knowledge we give, knowledge is power, right?
And honestly, I couldn't even clarify to you all the differences of everything. There are a lot of nuances in cannabis. You got, marijuana that people call cannabis, that people call weed, that people call flower, that people call, we all have different names. Bud. It has all these different names. And then you've got carts and vapes and dabs and concentrate and hash and rosin and resin and extracts and blah, 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 blah. It's like you need a infographic.
That's why I keep on giving you these. That's why I keep on giving you these articles.
But it's like I know
because
but
it
I'm
helps
just
you,
saying that
right.
even as experienced as we are, and as much as we are like with our head in the world of cannabis on a daily, it's still confusing.
Yeah, of course.
So,
and I know you always ask me questions about these.
Yeah.
That's why I gave it to you this time to read instead of me reading
Thanks. So, what is the difference? In this article, we're talking about carts, vapes, and dabs. In the modern marijuana market, there are seemingly endless choices. It can be overwhelming, especially for new consumers. Walking into a dispensary and seeing walls of flower, carts, vape products, extracts, and edibles, it's all a bit much. The variety of concentrates is especially mind-boggling. Live rosin dabs, pre-filled disposable vapes, Rick Simpson oil, Even experts can get lost in the aisles. Thanks to the sheer amount of products on the shelves, many people are curious about the differences between carts, vape pens, and dabs. While they are all variations of the same product category, each modality has its own unique set of pros and cons. Whether seeking convenience or potency, there's likely something for most consumers in the mix. So let's break it down. There is no shortage of cannabis jargon, and trying to learn the language of weed can be a challenge. When it comes to concentrates, there are some commonalities. Anytime someone uses dabs, carts, or vape pens, they're consuming a type of cannabis oil. The oil is extracted from a cannabis or hemp plant, which can be done in a number of ways. The type of extraction and the tools used to consume the product will help further discern between carts, vapes, or dabs. The word dabs is slang for any type of cannabis extract that is vaporized. They're known as such because you only need a tiny dab of oil to feel the effects. There are many types of dabs, typically categorized by the extraction method used and the consistency or the appearance of the final product. Dabs are far more potent than cannabis flower, so it's crucial that newcomers tread lightly. Some dabs are made using solvent-based extractions such as butane hash oil or BHO or CO2. The solvents strip cannabinoids, terpenes, and other active ingredients from the cannabis plant. Residual solvents are removed, resulting in an amber-colored oil. Other types of dabs, such as live rosin, are made using ice water and or heat and pressure. These craft products are marketed as solventless and typically command a higher price point. Dabs are usually consumed using a special device called a rig. Similar to a bong, a rig has a special bowl that is heated to high temperatures, often with a blowtorch.
I like our new rig.
Yeah. We have an electronic rig, also known as an e-rig, and they are popular. I can't speak. They are also popular since they don't require a torch. And portable dab pens that can be filled with concentrate are a slick option for on the go. So what is a cannabis cart? Cartridges, also known as carts or your cart, are small tanks filled with cannabis extract. They contain THC oils and other cannabinoids. The carts the carts use something called a 510 battery to vaporize the concentrates within. This is technically a form of dabbing. I didn't know that. The technology is pretty simple. The cart is attached to a battery using a built-in screw. The term 510 has to do with being a 5 millimeter screw with 10 threads. I didn't know that. So it's kind of the universal size. So all of these carts are, what's my word that I'm looking for? You can mix and match them with your different batteries, okay? Interchangeable.
There you go. You got it.
Got it. On the other end of the cartridge is a mouthpiece. And these often have a button on the battery that controls a heating element called an atomizer. When you press the button, the oil heats up and it can be inhaled through the mouthpiece. Some batteries are breath activated, meaning they don't use a button and are automatically powered on when you inhale. When a cart is empty, it's thrown away and replaced. So this is all disposable. Demand for carts has exploded over the last several years since they're discreet and a simple way to consume cannabis. CBD vape cartridges have become especially popular for those seeking the potential benefits of the cannabinoid in a convenient and cost-effective package. And then we have vape pens. You might think I'm already talking about vape pens, but a vape pen is another phrase for an interchangeable, or it is interchangeable. Many people refer to their cartridge as a vape pen. But the term can also describe a pre-filled disposable device. So you think of your cartridge as you just buy the cartridge, you already have a battery, and the vape pen is like your device that there is no parts that come apart. It just looks like you're like a Juul vape pen, and you're throwing it away when you're done with it. It's a one and done. So there are many types of vape pens on the market using various shapes and sizes of hardware. They work in a similar way to carts, except the tank containing the oil and the battery are housed in one device, typically disposable, Vapes are breath activated and may or may not be rechargeable. Most people simply discard them once the oil has been depleted. While not environmentally friendly, consumers gravitate toward these types of vapes because of their ease of use. For people exploring the wide world of cannabis concentrates, it may be difficult to decide which product to start with. It's hard enough trying to choose strains and flavors of cannabis. Extracts add a whole new level of confusion. THC vape pens and carts are a great entry point for people curious about concentrates. And just really anyone in general, because you can just like microdose with them.
Yep.
So as a beginner consumption method, it is nice because you can just take little tiny hits. Yeah. They don't require any additional hardware, and dispensaries will often have promotions, which include a battery with the purchase of a cartridge. When shopping for carts, vape pens, and the like, be sure you're getting something high quality. For example, if contaminated flour is put through a heat press, the pathogens within that may transfer to the final product. Solvent-based extraction methods. See, that's my thing. Like, I don't want the solvent-based because I don't want the chemicals. So it's like you're giving up one chemical for another.
Right.
It's just preference. But anyway, solvent-based extraction methods virtually eliminate contaminants. But now, again, there's a solvent, leading many people to trust them more than so-called solventless methods. Then you have live resin. It's a popular choice since it's made with freshly harvested buds. This makes for a delicious full-spectrum oil that is as close to the plant as you can get. I like resin and rosin. The downside to carts and vape pens is the lack of consistency across brands. Some perform really well, while others may leak or break down. There are ways to get the most from your cart, so always follow recommended tips.
Or you leave it in your pocket and Mrs. Weedman puts it in the washing machine and it gets ruined.
Yeah.
That's 70 bucks down the drain.
That was good. That was hash. That was good.
Yeah, it was good. I know. You fucked it up.
Yeah.
You blew it, Mrs. Weedman.
The battery didn't die.
No, the battery fucking
and
lasted.
it's like a favorite.
Yeah.
I love that battery.
But the fucking cart.
But the cart
man.
is shot. Oh, well. Dabs are nice because they offer more of a choose-your-own-adventure experience. You can spread some on a joint or bowl or consume them in a dab rig or a pen. Many people prefer them over pens because the flavor of the oil is often more pronounced in a rig versus a vape pen. Dabs are also a great choice for medical patients who may need a more potent hit. The downside of dabs is that it can be cumbersome. Traditional rigs have inherent safety risks, and maintaining a rig takes scrupulous cleaning. This is why many people opt for a cart vape setup, as it removes the guesswork and dangers associated with dabbing. And my big thing with dabbing or concentrates when you're using a rig is you are just using a torch to heat it up, and you really have to get that.
You have to get good at it.
You got to get good at it because I just felt like I was always burning, I was always burning it.
I was running too hot with it, and I would not taste the terpenes, and all I would do is just,
So the e-rigs are nice because you just tell it the temperature and it's completely
This one
controlled.
we got is a phone app and you just hit the button. I have
you can have
Mrs.
your own- I have
Weedman
my own
set to hers. I have
setting.
mine set and I just click on it and hers disco
It lights
lights
up a
and
different way.
it's
It
amazing.
lights up and heats
It's so
up.
easy to clean.
You get 3 puffs.
It's so
just
easy to
about.
clean.
It's amazing.
Yeah. What an experience.
Well, navigating the cannabis scene of today is quite a feat. But as states continue to legalize, consumers are becoming far more discerning. As the number of products on dispensary shelves grow, it's vital that people are empowered in their purchasing decisions. Carts, vapes, and dabs may all be similar, but each method has its own unique set of benefits and drawbacks. You may find that carts, vapes, and dabs aren't for you. On the flip side, you may decide they're just what you're looking for. The personal journey of finding the right cannabis consumption method is all about cautious trial and error. Don't fret, though, because discovering your own personal favorite weed strain and consumption method is worth the work along the way.
Hell yeah. Have some fun.
Yeah.
Experience.
I always say that a joint is the best way to I always say learn how to smoke, like learn how to consume.
Right.
Just because of the short-term nature of the high. You can have a little hit, and, this is like a repeat phrase of mine. You have your little hit, you feel a little high, you can have a little more. If you don't, you just stop, and in an hour you feel normal again.
I really think
it's a great way to learn how you're feeling.
joints are my fave.
Yeah.
I love them.
But the vape cartridge.
Somebody who's new though, and I'm gonna give them a plug because I love them. They've been on the show before. The Zenko,
Yeah.
and you can press that button yourself to where you want to measure your hit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to start really low, start really low. You want to get a midway hit. You want to go all the way to the rim.
Yeah.
It's on you. But that is a great way
It is a great
to learn how
if
to.
you don't want to smoke a joint,
Right.
Because a lot of people don't want to have the combustion.
Yeah.
So vaporizing is great. It's a little cleaner,
It's
right?
nice.
And yeah, that's definitely
and
a
you're
great
drinking
gadget.
it like
Yeah.
not literally. You're
Or you have a
putting,
straw in
Yeah,
there.
or have a
Yeah.
straw. So
It's
it's
just
like
very convenient.
you can. I think that is like probably the best way you can control.
Mm-hmm.
Is that gizmo right there?
Yep.
So. Billions in cannabis sales projected. New York's legal hurdle lifted for 30 retailers out of the 463 conditional adult use retail dispensary licenses. There's only 12 open in the state, and 30 more. and I mean they're expecting this to be one of the biggest markets.
Wow.
So, but there's so much weed being wasted right now. I'm glad they're letting at least some of the farmers markets. For the farmers to be able to, like I read in the last couple of episodes, there's 582,000 pounds of cannabis products held by growers right now in New York. You gotta let them make their money, or else the whole fucking thing's gonna go up in smoke. Or what's really gonna happen is your 1.2 billion annually sales, what you're projecting right now, can go up in smoke because everyone's gonna go bust. And if not, when these dispensaries open up, you think these growers are gonna waste that initial money? You're going to be getting 2-year-old weed.
Right.
You better fucking figure your shit out, New York, and quick. Jersey, the place I was born. Cops are winning the fight to use cannabis while off duty. A state panel has ordered a cop reinstated after she was fired for using cannabis. The first battle in the war over whether New Jersey law enforcement officers can use cannabis when they're off duty when their duty's over, and cops who want to partake in legal weed are winning. So this is good. Stay tuned on more of this. We'll see what happens. I think it's great. Pot industry has a fake union problem. I'm going to read this whole one. Some of the state's biggest cannabis companies have been accused of working with sham unions that don't actually fight for workers' rights. Haven't I said this on like prior episodes? You should be starting your own union.
Mm-hmm.
Cannabis industry, if you don't listen to me, I'm not dissing any other union out there. I said it and I'll say it again. I'm saying this. Start your own.
I believe there are efforts for that to happen, aren't there?
No, I haven't seen any yet. And if somebody out there wants to come on the show that's trying to start a union for cannabis, it's cannabis only. Like
right. Yes. Anyone in the cannabis,
come on the
legal
show.
cannabis industry.
Come talk about it. I want to hear what your thoughts, and we can try to figure this out. So it's just some of the biggest legal cannabis companies in California appear to be violating state law by working with organizations that claim to be labor groups but are accused of not actually attempting to fight for workers' rights. However, at least the 3 biggest pot companies in the state have been caught working with fake union called Professional Technical Union Local 33, ProTech. According to MJ Biz Daily, last month the California Agricultural Labor Relations Board determined that ProTech was not a bona fide labor organization because they made no discernible efforts to organize or represent any employees in the cannabis industry and failed to have physical presence in California. The board ultimately determined that ProTech and the companies it contracted with had entered into a sham relationship in order to skirt the state law. The list of companies working with ProTech includes Cannabis, one of the biggest distribution companies in the state, Herbal, a major distributor that recently went out of business, and Glasshouse Brands, one of the biggest pot farming companies in the state, according to MJ Biz Daily. The complaint against ProTech was filed by the International Brotherhood of the Teamsters, a union that represents more than 1 million workers in North America. Peter Finn, a vice president of Teamsters, told SF Gate in phone interview that these are sham unions hurt the rights of California cannabis industry workers. That's why you need to start your own. Thank you, Teamsters, for sticking up for the cannabis industry, but you still don't know cannabis. You know trucking, you know warehousing. Thank you, though, because you're the strongest union. But the cannabis industry can have 500,000 members right off the bat. There's 600,000 members right off the bat. Be strong.
Mm-hmm.
One of the strongest unions in the world. Beginning on July 2024, the requirements for labor peace agreement will apply to all companies with more than 10 or more employees, down from 20. Hafner said in an email in SafeGate that the California Cannabis Regulatory does not actively investigate unions that enter into labor peace agreements with pot companies instead of relying on a complaint-driven system. That sucks. DCC is actively working on efforts to increase the transparency into licenses, labor peace agreements, so that we can strengthen labor organizations and workers' abilities to file effective complaints, Hafner said. California has the largest number of legal cannabis industry workers in America. According to a 2022 report, more than 83,000 people employed in the industry in 2021. There are likely other cannabis companies that have signed agreements with ProTech. An attorney for the organization told the state's Labor Relation Board that they entered into a 64 labor agreements with businesses in California's cannabis industry. Be careful out there. Harlem, first legal weed store to set open next week after passing legal challenge. Good for you, Harlem. You're going to be busy. Holy shit. That store's going to be busy because there's only one store in Manhattan. So you're going to be busy. I mean, that one store in Manhattan did $12 million, so probably $13 million now, $14 million already since they opened.
Crazy.
Nuts. All right. So we're going to continue this talk, Mrs. Weedman and I. She's going to get really, really baked for this.
Some more for
yeah,
this
because we talked about cannabis and religion on the last episode.
Yep.
This one is consuming cannabis. Is it a sin? And a religious expert weighs in. And I might talk a little bit through this with Mrs. Weedman. I might chime in a little bit here and there. I might not. I might wait till the end to give my 2 cents. Because I'll say it again. There's angels in those leaves. And this plant was put on this planet for us to use, not to hide from and not to. So we'll talk more later.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mrs. Weedman.
So this is written by a highly educated religion expert. PhD in religion studies.
You might need one more hit before we start.
No, because then I think I won't be able to function. I'll have another one. Why not? It's a heavy subject.
It is a heavy subject.
You want this back?
Nope. I'm good. I'm
All
going to
right,
sit back and
everybody,
enjoy
here we
this
go.
article.
Is consuming cannabis a sin? Last week, we touched on this with a couple different articles that I pieced together. And here is a continuation, another perspective. A religion expert weighs in. Throughout most of the United States, cannabis is legal for at least medicinal use, and in nearly half of the states for recreational purposes as well. For many Americans, there are no longer legal barriers to consuming cannabis. However, there are many substances that are legal to use but might not be moral to use, leading some people to ask, is smoking weed a sin? People have moral objections to many legal products, such as those that involve environmental harm, animal suffering, or the oppression of workers. The law and morality often diverge. So even in the case of legal products, people must make a personal decision about whether or not to use their use is moral. There are many possible sources of morality, but one of the most important for many people is religion. When reflecting on choices and actions, many religious people will want to know not only whether it is lawful, but also if it is sinful. This question has been asked in numerous forums, and whether or not one is religiously observant, it is worth reflecting on this question. As a professor of religion, I have often been asked, is smoking weed a sin? Responding to this query requires careful theological reflection, but in the end, I believe the answer will be clear.
Me too.
Defining sin. The word sin, like many theological terms, has a range of meanings. Before we answer the question of whether or not cannabis use is sinful, we must develop a working definition of sin. The word sin goes back to Old English, and beyond that is related to Proto-Germanic and earlier forms of Indo-European languages, including Latin. In most contexts throughout its history, sin has been connected most strongly with Christianity, and it has been considered a transgression against God's law. A sin is an immoral act, and moreover, an offense against God. The meaning of the word has expanded over time and been applied in many ways. For the purposes of this reflection, we will focus on the meaning of sin in Jewish and Christian contexts, as indicating an act in some way contrary to God's will, which means that to a large extent it will contradict biblical commands or prohibitions. Here we will focus on biblical ways of approaching the question. However, if we are going to be using the Bible to help us answer the question, we have to recognize that the word sin is not used in the original languages of the Bible. The language of the Old Testament is Hebrew, and the language of the New Testament is Greek. So if we really want to get at the biblical concept of sin, we must look at the biblical word in its original languages. When we do this, we discover two different ways of thinking about the concept of sin, which can guide us in answering the cannabis question. Is consuming cannabis a transgression against God? The word that corresponds to sin in the sense of transgressing against divine law is captured by the Hebrew word pesha. Professor Earl Schwartz, an expert in biblical Hebrew, explained in personal correspondence that pesha connotes intention to violate or transgress against someone or some standard. If one has the intent to transgress against God's law, or if someone intentionally violates a biblical commandment, the word pesha would apply. Therefore, one way to answer the question of sinfulness of cannabis use is to determine whether or not the use of cannabis violates any of God's commandments. Is there anything in the Bible that instructs us not to use cannabis? The clear answer to this question is no. In fact, it is probably the case that smoking marijuana is not specifically mentioned in any Bible verse. Some scholars have argued that the biblical term cannabosum, literally reed of sweet spice or fragrant aromatic cane, listed as an ingredient in holy anointing oil,
I want that strain.
yeah, might refer to cannabis, but the claim is somewhat tenuous with other possible meanings. However, cannabis is undeniably mentioned in foundational Jewish religious text. The Talmud, with the word cannabis spelled Kanabus, and in Jewish texts throughout the centuries. Archaeological evidence has demonstrated that cannabis was used in Israel as early as 750 BCE. The researchers who excavated a site 35 miles south of Jerusalem found the remains of burnt cannabis seeds on an altar. They concluded that cannabis inflorescences were burnt there, conceivably as part of a ritual that took place in the shrine. It seems feasible to suggest that the use of cannabis on the arid altar had a deliberate psychoactive role. Boston University professor Carl Ruck writes, "There can be little doubt about a role for cannabis in Judaic religion." He goes on to say, cannabis is believed to be among the oils used for anointing. And while Ruck might be overstating the case, there is clear evidence for the use of cannabis by Israelites going back millennia, and there is no evidence that the ancient Israelites or the Jews of Jesus' time or Jesus himself condemned cannabis in any way. While it is uncertain whether or not cannabis is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible, it is safe to say that from a biblical perspective, God did not deem any plant evil, nor did God prohibit the consumption of any plant, with one notable exception of the particular tree in the Garden of Eden. Otherwise, humans were given all plant life to consume. The book of Genesis proclaims the goodness of all plants and their availability for use by humanity. And God said, "I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food." That's from Genesis 1, verse 29. In texts throughout Jewish history, cannabis is mentioned in the context of farming, clothing, medicine, and even warding off evil spirits. Rastafarians, whose worldview is thoroughly biblical, believe that cannabis is the plant referred to as the healing of the nation in Revelations 22, verse 2, or Revelations 22.2, and they considered its use sacramental. In short, from a biblical perspective, God deemed all of the natural world good, and there is no reason to believe that any particular plant should be considered forbidden to human beings.
Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Hey, what did I say last week?
Yep.
What did I say?
I don't know.
The devil
Smoke
doesn't
weed.
create, that too. The devil doesn't create anything. God, if you believe in God,
Yes.
if you believe
creates
God
everything.
created everything, okay, there's nothing on this planet that you just said that's considered forbidden to human beings.
Plants.
Plants.
Let's go on. Rabbi Baruch Halavi said, "There is no such thing as a bad plant. All plants are deemed kosher according to the simple reading of the creation story, period.
Period.
But this is not the end of the story.
Boo.
There is another concept that can be understood as sin in the Bible, and that is captured by the word hata'ah in Hebrew and hamartia in Greek. The meaning of this word is missing the mark. There are many ways that our actions can fail to hit the mark, such as doing things in the wrong way, at the wrong time, to excess or to deficiency, or in a way that impacts others negatively. The first use of the word hata'ah in the Hebrew Bible is in the story of Cain and Abel, which involves jealousy that culminates in murder, after which God warns, if you do not do what is right, hata'ah is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. In other words, if we do not control our impulses, emotions, and appetites, they will control us. In the New Testament, Paul says, we are slaves to sin. Being a slave to something is an oft-used metaphor for addiction, which involves a compulsive behavior that harms oneself and or others. One becomes controlled by a substance or activity rather than being in control of it. If the use of substance compromises one's judgment or makes one incapable of carrying out essential activities safely or effectively, we are at risk of hata'ah. This is why, although the Bible does not explicitly prohibit cannabis, aspects of biblical morality and law are relevant when they address forms of intoxication that can impair judgment and action. Christians who argue that cannabis use is sinful often use these kinds of arguments. While the New Testament does not mention cannabis, there are numerous warnings against drunkenness and intoxication. The caution against drunkenness is expanded by some Christians to all substances that cause intoxication. Brandon Sutton, associate pastor of the Journey Church, writes, the main point is that intoxication in general is a sin. We are not to be controlled by any substance, but be filled with the Spirit. Marijuana use causes intoxication. Therefore, it is a sin. Sutton goes on to make a highly questionable claim that any cannabis usage would lead to compromised judgment, although he believes that this is not true of alcohol use, which he argues can be done responsibly. Bullshit.
When I read this article before
like
I sent
cringing.
it over to you, I'm cringing more now. All right.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, you got a point.
Oh, I got a point. Real quick. Intoxication. It doesn't say abuse. It doesn't say just using it for just natural, even wine, having a glass of wine does not make you intoxicated or
no,
drunk.
They're saying to a point of
right. Either
abuse.
one of those. It's over the overuse of
Yes.
it to make you to become a drunk-hearted, whether it's alcohol or sin or weed. Using it on a moderation level for medication, for social use, but not overusing it when you're out. That's what I read here. Right?
Well, the article is written. Let me get to the point of the article.
I know.
This is just one person that they were going back to.
I had to argue this part, though, because it was driving me crazy.
I gotcha. All right. Sutton's attempts to treat cannabis and alcohol differently here are unconvincing, but we can see the reasoning behind the argument against forms of intoxication that lead to poor judgment. Like, that's a fair enough point, right?
Overuse.
Yes. Many traditions believe that our ordinary mind must be transformed or opened up in some way, whether by meditation, contemplation, ritual, music, or dance, so that we can gain greater access to wisdom and truth. One of the most widely used paths to consciousness transformation is the use of plants, including cannabis. So it is worth thinking about whether the effects of wisely used cannabis can be enhanced wisdom rather than impaired judgment. I love that point. Surely, unskillful use of cannabis or alcohol can lead people astray, but skillful use can bring significant benefits. We must ask ourselves, is cannabis use enhancing our lives, providing us with insight or a deeper engagement with the world? Or is it causing harm to my body or mind, to others around me, or to my work? We can now revisit the question, Is smoking weed a sin? And I would argue that it depends entirely on how cannabis is used, and the same can be said for virtually any substance. No plant can be inherently bad, and the use of any plant to heal others or ease their suffering is entirely in accord with Jewish and Christian morality. It would be virtually impossible to imagine a convincing biblical argument against the medicinal or therapeutic use of cannabis. Rabbi Halevi writes, "We have a moral duty to explore, perfect, and provide any plant and every plant if it has medicinal benefits. It's a mitzvah to alleviate suffering, heal, and save lives." What about non-medicinal use, though? Here we should think about what kinds of use are wise, skillful, responsible, or helpful, as opposed to those that lead to poor judgment, harmful action, and irresponsibility. We should think about cultivating virtues found in almost all religious traditions: wisdom, compassion, moderation, self discipline, so that we can, as much as possible, avoid actions that miss the mark. If we use cannabis and all of the plant life with which we are blessed on this earth with wisdom, we can use it to enhance life, ease suffering, and bring joy, because such use hits the mark. And because any theist must agree that cannabis is the product of divine handiwork, we cannot conclude that all cannabis use is sinful. And to that I say, amen.
That was another great article by
That was great.
they had a guest contributor to the Green State. Another one. When I found that, when I was doing some more research about
You're like,
this
Mrs. Weedman, we got to read. It's another article, same topic, but we got to do
I'm
this
like,
one.
this is a good one.
It is.
This like explains it for a lot of people out there to help them.
The article will be, each week when we post the episode, we put links to our articles. So
It'll be on there too.
the link will be there.
Really good, really good. I had a couple people reach out on YouTube about the last talk you had, so I can't wait to see what they have to say on this one. International news. This is a medicine. The Australians prescribed cannabis but left fighting to keep their jobs. Some workers have been stood down while others face stigma and are hiding their use, but reform could be on the way, which is great. So not all workplaces are so accepting, some people say, and they have risk of losing their jobs. But medicinal cannabis is an issue that businesses, employees, and unions and governments across Australia are having to navigate after its introduction as a prescribed medication. So, I mean, there's a push for change. They're trying to get some good stuff going on, which is good. The Legalized Cannabis Party moved the motion, say some workplaces have drug testing rules that discriminate against medicinal cannabis users and force them to choose between their medication or their livelihood. In Australia, medical cannabis can be accessed with a prescription and is regulated by our Therapeutic Goods Administration. It can be prescribed for a range of health conditions, including anxiety, depression, nausea arising from cancer, pain resulting from multiple sclerosis, chronic pain, and androgeminitis. So this article, we'll post this one too. This one, it's pretty long, but I mean, just keep on fighting, Australia. You're in the path. So Bahamas introduced bills to legalize marijuana for medical and religious purposes. Good. Legal cannabis pilot program officially launches in Switzerland. Sweet. Okay, I posted this on my Instagram. An American tourist, first and foremost, if you represent yourself and you go to another country and you're representing cannabis and this country just went legal and now there's a government trying to get them to go back to the Stone Age that's coming in, that got voted in, and you go into that country and be the stupid fucking tourist and decide to take one of those big fog machines and just blow cannabis smoke throughout the streets. One without being like at a festival with permission to do that, just going through just the streets. And I know the people were having fun with it, but you got fucking popped with and the street smoking at a popular tourist destination in Thailand to promote your business back home. And that's what the police say. So an American tourist blasted the streets in Thailand with marijuana smoke, according to Phuket Provincial Police. The man identified, I'm not even going to give the name out, I don't want to give this guy a plug, by local police apologized for causing damage to the tourism image. And they told the insider he was not the one to fog the streets and claimed that the machine did not have any marijuana. Well, come on, man. I like all that stuff. I think it's fucking awesome. I want to fucking if someone shoots a fucking blaze by their table at a festival or some shit, and it's. But this is a country right now that you're going into, and you just disrespected what they're trying to fight for, just to promote you. It's fucked up. So. Cannabis use is growing medicinally trend in New Zealand's rugby ranks. Cannabis is growing in New Zealand rugby ranks, and a former All Black believes it should be embraced instead of being shunned. Yes, come on, New Zealand. You were right there, too. You can get there. It'd be a great crop for you there. Beer goggles.
Beer goggles.
You ever have them?
Yeah. Yeah. You know that whole article about sin?
Yeah.
Alcohol definitely can
alcohol,
make you sin.
It fucking clouds your judgment big time. Makes you do stupid stuff.
Yeah, I've had some beer goggles. Yeah. So what
and
about...
you didn't even drink beer.
Well, I had some liquor goggles.
Yeah, you had fucking Captain Morgan rum.
Boozy
Spicer.
I had boozy goggles.
Boozy goggles.
Boozy goggles.
So what about, is weed goggles a thing
Boozy
or what?
Susie. What's that? Oh, weed goggles.
Is that a real thing?
It's a phenomenon. Is it real? Well, here's the science behind the attraction boost. You may have heard the term beer goggles thrown around in a bar or at a party. Of course, that doesn't refer to actual eyewear. The idea is that the more alcohol a person drinks, the greater the perceived attractiveness of the individual in front of them. This phenomenon may not just extend to alcohol, however, with some people claiming a similar effect in relation to marijuana use and calling it weed goggles. Working to normalize cannabis use amongst the general public, Peter Barsoom, founder of 1906, tells CNN how marijuana affects the body in relation to one's sex drive. Our body's natural endocannabinoid system is key in regulating things like pleasure, pain, relaxation, and homeostasis, Barsoom told the outlet. When it is activated by the cannabinoids in cannabis, it can leave users feeling relaxed with increased pleasure and decreased pain. This can lead to increased arousal and make sex even more enjoyable. Knowing this, it is possible there may actually be some scientific credibility behind the notion of weed goggles. In a 2016 study published in the scientific journal Archives of Sexual Behavior, researchers gathered anecdotal evidence from 24 heterosexual adults about their recent experiences using weed prior to intercourse. Half of the participants were female and half were male. The study team set out to examine the differences and similarities in participants' self-reported psychosocial and physical sexual experiences after consuming alcohol in comparison to after consuming weed. To do so, the researchers looked at factors such as dose amount, the preceding events leading up to the interaction, how attractive the person felt, perceived attractiveness of others, partner choice, and more. When it came to beer goggles, the study findings showed that alcohol consumption was often tied to what participants referred to as lower standards while inebriated, but often resulted in a lack of partner attraction the next morning.
Slide out the back door.
For some, this lack of attraction extended beyond the physical, with one female participant reporting that a sober follow-up date with a partner felt awkward and void of connection. Some participants reported the same to be true when using marijuana. However, other participants said that weed didn't so much lower their standards as much as it boosted potential partner attractiveness. The research findings showed that the concept of weed goggles may extend to both the physical and the emotional attractiveness of a partner. One male participant noted that the marijuana seemed to boost a potential partner's physical attributes, while another male participant reported increased emotional attraction to their girlfriend. Oppositely, emotional attachment was absent in reported experiences involving alcohol. Yeah. Raising the question of familiarity as a potential contributing factor, the researchers found that alcohol consumption was more often linked to sexual relations with strangers. Conversely, marijuana use was often tied to intercourse with a partner whom the participant was already acquainted with. Yet even when meeting someone for the first time, marijuana appears to set a stage for connection more so than alcohol, as was seen in the 2016 study. Participants noted that a stranger asking to take a puff off of a joint often served as an effective point on which to build a further connection by successfully establishing a shared interest. In addition to partner familiarity, the environment may also have a hand in the weed goggles phenomenon. The researchers point out that, unlike alcohol, marijuana is not legal in all parts of the U.S. and must be used discreetly in such places. In these instances, individuals may find themselves in more private locations, but in addition to being in more personal settings, some participants in the study often reported that the taboo nature of the activity further fueled potential intimate interactions. Overall, marijuana use was associated with greater emotional satisfaction following intercourse compared to alcohol use. Additionally, some participants reported that orgasms were often more intense in connection to marijuana and found intercourse to be more compassionate and heavier on foreplay. Sex following marijuana use was also linked with heightened sensitivity to physical sensations. Yuppers, weed is good. So get your weed goggles on and have some fun.
World Anti-Doping Agency experts say marijuana use violates the spirit of sport and makes athletes unfit role models. There's a lot worse than that out there. WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency. It's just, come on, it doesn't ruin the sport. Here are the factors that WADA officials said apply to marijuana, quoted directly from their paper. Excellence in performances could be undermined by consumption of cannabis during the in-competition period. Character and education. The role model aspect is not compatible with the use of substance that is still illegal in most parts of the world. Respect for rules and laws. Its use violates the law in most countries in the world, in addition to anti-doping organization rules in some instances. That all needs to change, by the way. Respect for self and other participants. The welfare and safety of other participants may be compromised by impaired judgment associated with the presence of cannabis in an athlete in competition. WADA, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. They brought back in WADA. They enact the reform use after the runner Sha'Carri Richardson was suspended by participating in the Olympics event due to a positive THC test in 2021. She just won last weekend and broke the record and came in first and whooped everybody's ass. Mm-hmm. So WADA, once again, you're wrong. So that's all the time I'm going to give you. So athletes should be able to use what they want to use as long as they're not doing anything wrong. So, whatever. I don't know. Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
You got anything else to say?
It's time for a snack.
It is time for snacks.
I need some snacks. Let's finish this joint.
Go get some snacks.
I got ice cream today.
I know. Oh, what? Really?
Yeah, we're going to have ice cream.
Oh, that's right. You did get ice cream.
I did.
You did. This weed gives me the munchies.
Oh.
Yesterday
Mr. Weedman never gets the munchies.
This weed gives me the munchies.
I'm like devouring everything in sight for hours.
Not good. But I never said weed didn't give me the munchies, but this strain does. And so I'm ready to have a snack.
Let's have a snack.
Everybody out there in the world, we love you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the love. Thanks for just, being you. Go out there and live for the day. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome, long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable. 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 Acceptable.